Welcome back to the Secret Turnabout. We're in Act 3, and I don't know what that was. Let's continue. Pressing Vera for all she's worth. Can you tell us a bit more about the pulleys in question? How do they work exactly? Alright, I'll try my best. There are 2 pulleys in total, each one set up to work remotely. They use a wireless signal to connect to a designated remote that controls them. And one of this remote, how does it work? The remote has 2 buttons, both rotate the mechanism inside the pulley itself. Once the rope has been loaded into the pulley, it's as simple as pushing up or down. Additionally, there is a knob on the back of the remote to control the speed of rotation. It's so simple that even a child could use it. Or even, perhaps, a simple-minded defense attorney. Oh, hey, low blow, buddy. It should be noted, however, that there is no crank to use with the pulley, meaning there's no way to use it manually. So everything has to be done via remote control. That's right. It doesn't matter how much you try to force it to work. If you don't have the right remote for either pulley, they won't work at all. I see. Wait a minute. Is it just me, or is there something odd about the way Vera worded that? I wonder, is this worth pursuing? I mean, hell yeah, it's worth pursuing. I mean, my theory is that there's 2 remotes and he swapped them out, Aiden Gambit. Vera, wait just a moment. Apollo. You just said that to use the pulleys, you'd need the right remote. For either one. Either one? Mr. Justice, are you suggesting? All this stink has been made about there being 2 pulleys. But what about the number of remotes? Vera, answer me honestly. Did you make more than 1 remote for the pulleys? Did I not mention that? Order in the court! I'm sorry, Apollo. I didn't mean to leave that out. Don't worry about that, as long as we know the truth in the end. Just tell us how many remotes there are. There were 2 remotes in total. The same as the number of pulleys. Right, that was another part of the request. Each pulley is connected to its own separate remote, so the remote assigned to one pulley will not work on the other. Oh, that sounds easy. I can quickly see it becoming cumbersome. Imagine, if you will, that these pulleys were mass-produced. Buying them in bulk would mean having to sort through dozens of different remotes. Even here, with just 2 pulleys, it would make far more sense to have them be connected to a singular master remote. It is quite odd now that you mention it. However, that's simply just what the client asked for. The commissioner asked for each pulley to have its own remote. Is it possible there's some sort of reason for this? In any case, I should probably take note of this for later. There's some updated evidence. There are 2 of them, and each one only works with 1 pulley each. That just confirms my theory then. Or confirms it anyway. Where was this drop-off point exactly? It was a small, run-down playground which nobody visits anymore. I don't remember the name, but until I dropped off the pulleys there. Do we have a Vera mission profile now? Yeah, a former client of mine and a reformed forger. She now works with the police to capture former clients. And we have Manny Steele as well. A prosecutor and a defendant of the larceny trial that took place on the day of the murder has a sad attitude. And no one else yet. And even when the drop-off point was such a run-down, desolated area, you still didn't suspect anything was wrong. Actually, it was at this point that I started to think something was up. I was worried that maybe this was a setup to get me alone and vulnerable. And I might end up being kidnapped or killed. Thank God that didn't happen. However, of course, you're standing here before us now. Yes, so I was obviously fine. When nothing happened to me, I decided to put my fears at ease. I awaited the rest of my payment as I tried to push the entire incident out of my mind. That is, until Mr. Gambit came asking me about the police. And then everything came crashing down. I wish I could turn back time and keep myself from ever making those pulleys, knowing that they were used for not just a larceny, but a murder as well. Vera, don't think about that now. Just think happy thoughts, okay? Happy thoughts! Mr. Justice, yelling at her isn't going to solve the problem. Sorry. Give her a moment to clear her thoughts. Yelling is just going to stress her out even more. Thank you, Miss Edgeworth. I think I'll be fine. Let's just focus on the issue at hand. 2 pulleys found after 2 different crimes. The pulley found at the prosecutor's office during a larceny case, and the pulley found in the vents during this very trial. Both of them made by Vera for the same commission. At this point, it's not a question that these 2 crimes are related. The main sticking point here, keeping us from going forward, is the events of the larceny trial. Aiden Gambit disproved the pulley's connection to the larceny case, and the remote didn't work when he used it. In order to get back on track, I had to pick up right where he left off. There has to be some way to reconnect the pulley back to the larceny case. In order to find the evidence I need, I should seek multiple perspectives on the issue. Perhaps certain statements have different angles I can get information from. So we're back to the beginning, and now it's time to poll the jury. Your Honour, I would like to hear what the jury thinks about this statement. Very well, Mr. Wright, if you would, please. Sure thing, Your Honour. What do you guys think? You know, I'm actually curious. What are these talents of yours, Miss Misham? Obviously, I love art and drawing, of course. Art is my passion. I wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. Yeah, but it's not the only thing you're good at, right? I mean, if you were only good at that, only a bozo would request these pulleys from you. I see you're very astute. Yes, it's true. My previous line of work required me to learn quite a few skills. Fingerprinting, copying handwriting, video editing. And of course, most important to our discussion today, making machinery. I have a whole host of other skills as well. Obviously, I wanted to leave my old lifestyle behind, but it just felt wrong to let those skills go to waste. So I started accepting requests for a variety of different things beyond art. I figured that since the mission mark was not public knowledge, that nobody would attempt to use them for evil anymore at risk of getting caught. Obviously, that was a bit too naive of me. But you really couldn't have known what those pulleys would have been used for. You shouldn't blame yourself for that. Apollo. Say a guy gets stabbed in the chest with a kitchen knife. Who do you blame? The guy who stabbed him, or the guy who made the knife? Well, I understand the argument, Mr. Justice. I feel you're oversimplifying things. The kitchen knife was not made with the express purpose of taking a life. Meanwhile, you've theorized that these pulleys were always made with the intent of murder. Or does the defense wish to take back its theory? No, even if your theory does turn out to be true, there's no evidence that Miss Misham would have known the intended use of these pulleys. Therefore, it's highly unlikely she will be charged as an accomplice. But trying to defend her honor will accomplish nothing in the long run. If she wishes to take responsibility, then denying her wishes will do nothing to lighten her mood. Let her come to terms with it in her own time. Thank you, Miss Edgeworth. Well, he's been in her shoes before, hasn't he? Blaming himself for things. No then, I feel we've strayed a bit off topic. I agree, actually. Apollo just can't stop simping for Vera. Yeah. Miss Misham, please continue your testimony. And Edgeworth had to bring him down to earth. Your Honour, I'd like to hear what the jury thinks about the statement. Very well, Mr. Wright. Ask the peasantry what they think. Sure thing, Your Honour. What do you peasants think? You know, I must say, this entire situation has me curious, Miss Misham. How exactly do you go about meeting your clients? Typically, the request to meet in person comes through an email or a phone call. We agree on a time and place to meet, usually during the day at local cafe. But if they're sending in emails and phone calls, why not accept requests that way? Actually, the answer to that is simple. I only accept cash payments. As you can imagine, it's quite difficult to send cash via emails or phone calls. Wait, why only accept cash? There's so many easier ways now! Indeed. Have you considered wire transfer? The thought had occurred to me, yes. Unfortunately, I have yet to start a bank account of my own. Not many banks are eager to create one for a known forger. It's like they're afraid the very money I hand them is forged as well. Terrible as that is, I totally believe Vera has the talent to counterfeit money. After all, her forgeries of art and evidence were damn near perfect. I won't explain why she needs such cash payments. It's not exactly like she can use anything her father left behind either. Drew Misham's assets were frozen after his untimely death. Even if they weren't, I still wouldn't use them. Using that money, knowing that was what I was doing for him was wrong all these years. I think the guilt would eat away at me. Oh, you poor thing. Such a hard life you've lived. It's not so bad. I have people that can support me if need be. Mr. Edgeworth, Mr. Wright, Mr. Gavin, and of course you, Apollo. You're welcome, I guess. Am I really that important to her? I mean, you got her off the hook for murder. Duh, you two are too cute. Can I ship you guys? Whoa, slow down. Where did that come from? I don't know, I think she might be onto something. Are you two seeing each other? We're just friends. Vera, can you please help stop this delusion that Joy has about us? I don't know. I'm having too much fun watching you try to deny it. Great, Trucy has taught her the art of teasing. Mr. Justice, I said no flirting during the cross-examination. Save that for later. We'll all go and get some drinks after this trial. We'll all go and do karaoke. Let's get back on topic. What did you think about this request in particular? Your Honor, get the goddamn Joy back up here. Very well. Okay. Get on with it, Mr. Wright. Oh, Your Honor, can you just, like... And Apollo as well, you're being a bad influence on him. Be polite. What do you guys think? Right, so you all know by now that I work as a clerk here at the courthouse, right? That's right. That was put to use earlier in the trial. And as a clerk, I've worked in the mailroom a fair few times. So I know a bit about how the mail system works by now, and so I have to ask. Shouldn't the letter have had a name and return address? That's pretty important. Hey, you're right. I didn't even think about that. A name and a return address are required for a letter to be sent out. Those should have been on the envelope the letter came in. I wish I could say you were onto something, Apollo. But no such things were included at all. But that makes no sense at all. I mean, think about it. If the letter didn't include those things when it was sent, the postal service would have thrown it away entirely. I believe this problem is a very simple solution. Posted it through the goddamn Mission residence letterbox himself. What would that be? True, if the letter was sent by mail, it would have needed a name and return address. However, that's ignoring the possibility that the letter wasn't sent by mail. I think I see what you're getting at. You're saying the commissioner dropped it off at Vera's house in person, right? Precisely. Although that would have had a few implications of its own. If Vera didn't see this person drop off the letter, that would mean he'd have to do so when Vera wasn't home. Something to that effect would be likely, yes. No matter how they did it, one thing remains clear. This person went to great lengths to remain completely anonymous. The circumstances surrounding this unmarked letter are quite mysterious indeed. However, I think that's all we're going to learn from this line of questioning. Let's focus for now on what exactly this person was requesting of Miss Misham. Anna, you know what I'm doing. I'm asking... Yes, you kind of are doing this quite systematically, so I think we all get where you're going. I haven't been paying attention, Your Honour, but yeah, Jory, get back up here. When you meet the police, did you have any idea what they were going to be used for? No, the letter didn't say what they were actually for. But surely you must have had some kind of theory, right? Even if you didn't know for sure, you must have at least been curious or something. I know I'd have wondered what was going on if I was in your situation. I can definitely see your point. But the best theory I had at the time was that they wanted the police for some kind of show. A show, you say? Yes, like the ones the Grammarly troupe used to put on all the time. I mean, it's not an actual word, but ironically, grammar mistake. Yeah, there's an extra M there, but the Grammarly troupe used to put on all the time. No, that's a name I've not heard in a long while. I was honestly half convinced that Trucy had ordered the police for me as a surprise. That is, until one of them ended up in that trial. You mean the larceny case where Manny Steele was the defendant? When that lawyer, Mr. Gambit, said that my pulley had been used in the crime, I could feel my heart sink. Jeez, someone give this girl a hug. Ah, get over it. It's not a big deal. If there was ever I siege her or two. I mean, think about it. Gambit's theory was proven false, right? I mean, after all, he used the remote and nothing happened. That's right, I keep forgetting that the entire jury saw the larceny trial. I mean, they saw the pulley Gambit presented with their own eyes. They know better than anyone how it connects to that case. Members of the jury, you were there when the pulley was presented in Manny Steele's trial, and now another one has appeared that could be connected to this case. This could potentially link the two cases together. Order! Order! At this point, a link between these two cases seems rather likely. You should know better by now, Yona. I could try, Mr. Justice, but I'm afraid that won't work. What do you mean? Do you remember what Juror 2 just said a few moments ago? Aiden Gambit's theory was proven false at the end of the trial. Because that was his actual plan. But... Yeah, exactly. That idiotic theory was shot right in the front like Gambit himself. There's no proof at all the pulley was used in the larceny. Hey, Aiden's theory wasn't idiotic. The remote for the pulley was found at the scene and it was made by that girl. How do you explain that, huh? I wish I knew what to say. But unfortunately, I just don't have the answer to that question. By all accounts, that should be the remote that works for the pulley Mr. Gambit found. But against all odds, it just isn't at all. This is one puzzle that just seems impossible to solve. I wonder, do I have the means to solve it? You look deep in thought, Mr. Justice. I wonder, do you think the statement is important enough to be added to the testimony? Well, I'm pretty sure we now have our connection because I'm pretty sure now we can finally present my theory that there's two remotes and he swapped them. Her statement is incredibly important, Your Honour. It should be added to the testimony immediately. Very well, Miss Mission, if you would add this to your testimony. My only way forward is to solve this problem once and for all. Try to prove what really happened in the larceny trial. So, for some reason the remote missed again, but we'll press and pull this one. You have any idea why it didn't work? Honestly, I don't have a single idea. I can confirm the pulley is my design, as is the remote it came with. My best guess is that it simply doesn't work. I just realised as well, I forgot to read the new statement. But I've got this backlog now, so I can just go it from here. For some reason, the remote Mr. Gambit found didn't work with the pulley I'd made. Doesn't work? Yes, my fortunate days have given me some experience as a tinkerer. But art is far more of my calling than engineering. Drawing, sketching, painting is what I love most. It's my passion above all else. So I'm always happy to get another commission for it. I comparison, the pulley was simply just another job to do. Well, even if that's the case, it doesn't make much sense if the pulley didn't work. Ah, what do you mean? Think about it. Someone paid money for you to make this pulley. They went through the effort of trying to remain anonymous the entire time, only for it to turn out to have not even worked in the first place, and at no point will you demand a refund. Oh, you're right. That may be a bit of a moot point, Miss Justice. Huh? What do you mean? Imagine for a second it was revealed that those pulleys were going to be used to commit some sort of crime. Would you want to risk asking for a refund after that? Ah, good point. Still, I'm not entirely convinced. Is it really not possible that the remote actually was working when Gabbett used it? Two pulleys found after two different crimes. A pulley found in the prosecutor's office and a pulley found in the events during his very trial. Wasn't made by Vera for the same commission. At this point, it's not a question that the two crimes are related. The main sticking point keeping us going forward is the events of the larceny trial. Aiden Gabbett disproved the pulley's connection to the larceny case when the remote didn't work when he used it. I want to get back. I pick up right where we left off. I thought that might be. Yeah. And we follow the jury on this one too. Before we present the course. Your Honor, I'd like to hear what the jury thinks about this statement. Very well, Mr. Wright, if you would, please. Sure thing, Your Honor. Get back up here, jury. I mean, what else would need to be said, right? We all saw it with our own eyes. The remote didn't do anything. Well, that's what you think, but anyway. Well, yes, it's true, the pulley didn't react to the remote. But does that necessarily rule it out as being related to the case? I'm afraid I don't follow your logic, Mr. Justice. Yeah, I mean, that pulley really was the only thing tying it to the crime. But it was still left at the crime scene after the larceny took place. There has to be a reason for that. Does there really have to be some grand reason, Mr. Justice? What do you mean? Thinking about it from this perspective, Mr. Justice. I keep plenty of case files inside my office, as is typical for all prosecutors. However, not all of the case files are the standard, run-of-the-mill ones you'd find at the precinct. Some of these special case files contain certain pieces of evidence. It's possible that the remote came from one of these files. That makes absolutely no sense if you think about it. Remember, this remote has a mission mark on it. Vera created it and she already confirmed what it was used for. That may be true, but we must consider a certain possibility. And this mission has created this type of remote before for a different machine. But she would have told us if she'd done such a thing. Vera Mission has had quite a long career in forgery, Mr. Justice. Many of her commissions date back to when she was just a child. You can't expect her to remember every one she's made, can you? But... Even I must admit that Mr. Edgeworth has a point. Though I like to believe I have a very good memory of the commissions I've made over the years. Even my memory is not flawless. Yeah, the idea sounds completely insane and ridiculous. But we saw with our own eyes that the remote didn't work with the pulley. You're supposed to be a mystery solver. How do you not get this? I mean, Apollo hasn't clocked on either yet, but he's almost there. It's an absolute fact that can't be overturned. And so, we're right back to where we started. As amazing as it sounds, there's nothing tying the remote to the larceny. Unless the defense has evidence to the contrary, of course. He's right, of course. I can't win this battle by words alone. But I need some solid concrete evidence showing what that remote was used for. Yeah. That's where it looks back to be. So, this, I think, is where we present the updated remote. Yeah, there we go. I just have one question to ask. Huh? What is it, Apollo? It's actually something that's been bothering me ever since I heard about it. Actually before then, but are you so sure that the remote didn't work with the pulley? Mr. Justice, you really must try to sound like you're grasping at straws. The jury saw with their own eyes that the remote didn't work during the larceny trial. You simply cannot overturn the fact that this remote wasn't used in the larceny. Unless, of course... It wasn't used in the larceny, it was used in the murder. That's not what you're implying at all. I see the prosecution has already caught on. I'm sorry, what are you two trying to say? I believe the easiest way to explain it would be to show, rather than tell. By using this remote once again. But pressing the button did nothing last time. Would it not be the same if we tried the same thing again? As you say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, and expecting different results from it. That is, of course, assuming all the variables are the same. Very well. The court will allow the defence to use the remote again. There better not be any more dead bodies to find this time, Mr. Justice. I think we're good on that, Your Honour. That noise. As this court can see with their own eyes, the remote found at the scene of the larceny does indeed work. With this pulley. But Mr. Justice, that's not the pulley that was presented in the larceny trial. That's the pulley that was found in the vents near the murder. That's exactly right, Your Honour. The remote that was presented during the trial wasn't used during the larceny. It was actually used in the plot to kill Corey Rupture. Order! Order! Mr. Justice, I don't understand. How is this possible? That a remote found during a completely different crime could be used in this murder. It sounds fantastic, Your Honour. Why are you calling this murder fantastic? If you're the murderer, and you're praising yourself. Not that kind of fantastic, but it's the truth. If you recall, an argument was made during the larceny trial. There was a contradiction in the defence's argument. How could the thief have used the pulley to escape if it was found at the crime scene? Of course, we now know there were actually two remotes that Vera made. The remote found at the crime scene, we now know is connected to the pulley we just found. Knowing this, it's still plausible that the other is connected to the pulley found by Aiden Gambit. I mean, the theory being proposed that day isn't completely off the table. Actually, I hadn't even considered that, but yeah. That proves that... It doesn't prove that Manny Steele's not guilty, but it proves that he was given a guilty verdict when he shouldn't have been. Because Aiden Gambit set it up that way. Very well, the evidence should be updated to reflect this. It's used to control the motorized pulley that killed Corey Rupture. So, the remote to the pulley that killed Corey Rupture was found at the larceny scene? And it must have been planted there ahead of time, Your Honour. The conclusion to be drawn from this is obvious. The culprits of both crimes must be one and the same. Your logic has a few holes, Mr. Justice. Namely, regarding the opportunity to use the remote itself. The opportunity to use the remote? Keep in mind that the remote was found at the scene of the larceny. Once it was found, it was immediately taken into police custody. If the culprit had planted the remote as you claim they did, there would be no opportunity to use it to kill Corey Rupture. Oh my god, Edgeworth, you were literally there. As we are wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. There was a clear opportunity to use the remote to kill Corey Rupture, even with the remote still in police custody. Very well, Mr. Justice, the court will hear your explanation. At a time like this, Mr. Wright was saying I need to turn my thinking around. It's not a matter of how could the killer have used the remote when it's in police custody. It's all about what opportunity opened up because the remote was in police custody. The court is waiting to hear from you, Mr. Justice. How did the killer use the remote despite it being in custody? The killer is a policeman. The killer was in the trial. The killer stole the remote. Well, it's this one. There's only one true explanation if you really think about it. The reason why the killer planted the remote so it would end up in police custody becomes clear when you think about the events of the day of the murder. In particular, an event that will give the murderer the perfect alibi. You can't possibly mean... It's the only explanation, Your Honour. The culprit used this opportunity to play us all for fools by using the justice system itself to their advantage. With the discovery of the pulley, we concluded that said alibi doesn't hold water, but the discovery that the remote was planted takes it one step further. The true culprit is someone who was intimately involved in the larceny trial. Order! Order!
Mr. Justice, explain this at once. If what you're saying is true, if someone defiled the sanctity of our cause to commit murder, then this simply must not be allowed to stand.
I think murder on its own is bad as well, but I guess so. Understood, Your Honor. The culprit was very careful in how they set up the situation. The first step was to steal the files from Mr. Edgeworth's office. It's also at this point that the remote was planted in the office as well. The thief banked on the suspect being apprehended, thus set their wicked plot into motion. The next step of the plan was to become involved in the trial itself. How exactly they were involved is as a defense attorney, but it's still unknown as of right now. However, they must have been in a position that allowed them to handle the evidence. Before the trial, the culprit made their move on core eruption. Whether they attacked him in the chambers or in the underground bunker is unclear. But either way, they knocked him out. Then, the culprit put the unconscious victim in the unused vents of the crime scene. There, the killer had installed the pulley ahead of time in preparation for their plan. All that was left now was the coup de grace. At some point during the larceny trial, the killers saw their chance. They pressed the button on the remote to pull the... Okay, there you go. They pressed the button on the remote to pull the victim to his death, thus setting up their perfect alibi for the crime. And that brings us to today. 2 pulleys used in 2 different crimes with the same end goal in mind. Everything was carefully planned to lead to core eruption's death. But now, the curtain is pulled back and the illusion is revealed. The culprit used these cords as a puppet, setting up the strings of Rupture's demise.
This is all so much to take in. To think we could be played for fools in this manner. Who could be responsible for such a thing?
I'm starting to get my suspicions of who is really behind this case. At the same time though, I'm not sure I'm ready to give a name yet. This crime must have happened like how I described it. That's the only thing that's making sense. All the same, before I start naming a suspect in this murder, I need proof that that person had malicious intent with their actions. Right now, no such proof exists for the prosecutor who submitted the remote to the court. The police officers who found the remote in Edgeworth's office, the judge who oversaw the case, who just wanted to give a fair verdict, or for Aiden Gambit, who just seemed to be looking out for his all of them just seem to be doing their respective jobs. Right now, even if I want to name the person who used the remote, they could just claim they didn't set up the death trap and shoot my argument in the foot. I should play it safe until I can prove one of them obfuscated the evidence in some way. Does that really mean I can't name a suspect? Because I may not have proof of who exactly did this crime, but I can prove that there was someone out there who had ill intentions. Your Honor, I do think I can answer the question of who was responsible for this crime. However, I cannot give you a name for the suspect.
I'm afraid I don't understand, Mr. Justice. How can you tell us who did this without giving us a name?
I cannot yet prove who exactly was responsible for setting up this crime, because the person responsible has not yet provided their true identity. I know it's you, but I think where he's going is going to present the blackmail letter and say, the spirit seething, and then Ares going to be like, oh, it's a ghost, I knew it, I knew it.
In that case, it's clear simply naming a suspect won't do. We must now present evidence showing who committed the crime.
Understood, Your Honor. The evidence that shows the identity the killer hid behind, to think it will already be time to bring it out. The evidence that shows who the real killer is this. Your Honor, I'm a lawyer. This the evidence that shows who the culprit is.
I don't see how that evidence proves anything, Mr. Justice.
But Your Honor, isn't it so obvious?
To you, maybe it is. But I'm afraid you've left me completely in the dark.
Well, you see,
judging by your reaction, you don't seem too confident in your own answer. Please, enjoy this nice penalty and think it over next time.
I don't know how I managed to mess that one up.
Lest I forget you stated you know who the culprit is despite giving us no name.
Alright, it's the blackmail letter. I'm sure the jury will recognise this piece of evidence I'm about to bring up. After all, this has to play an integral role in yesterday's affairs. Ah, that letter! Just as I thought. You do remember it. This letter was presented by Aiden Gambit in yesterday's trial. In the letter, the person trying to blackmail Manny Steele used a pseudonym. This is why I'm unable to say the name of my suspect.
I see. So then your suspect is...
That's right, Your Honor. Clearly, whoever this blackmailer is has a connection to Rupture and Steele.
You mean, through that case they both played a part in so long ago?
Exactly, Your Honor. That's my main suspect, and I'm the blackmailer who targeted Manny Steele.
Order! Order!
How could we all have been so blind to it? The man Mr. Gambit mentioned. This spirit of seething. Mr. Gambit believed him to be behind the larceny. Jonathan Seething reborn. But he was written off. Jonathan Seething is dead. Ghosts aren't real. And now that we know we were being misled the entire time. Is it possible Seething's ghost really was behind everything the entire time?
I can't say I'm much for superstition. However, our ghost culprit, as crazy as it sounds, would explain why we couldn't see what was right in front of us.
I can't say for certain who the spirit of Seething really is without proof. However, I can say one thing for certain. No ghost perpetrated this crime. Indeed, it all comes back to what we've been saying since the larceny trial. Ghosts are not real. And yet, as we go further along into the trial, I can't help but wonder if that point may be irrelevant. After all, they aren't called the ghost of Seething. Ghosts do not exist, but spirits do. After all, a spirit is simply a manifestation of someone's will. Jonathan Seething may be presumed dead to the world, but that doesn't mean his will is gone from it. It's still unclear if the blackmailer really is Seething himself, but it's clearly meant to extract revenge for what happened to him. If the spirit of Seething really is the true culprit, they may never stop until Jonathan Seething's vengeance is fulfilled. Our only option is to stop them right here, right now. This court has rather enjoyed your preparation for next year's Halloween, but I'm afraid this is where ghost stories end. What? What do you mean?
We found Jonathan Seething's body, and we didn't tell you about it for dramatic effect. No!
The defense has theorized that the culprits of the larceny trial and the murder are the same. And in doing so, sparked a discussion of whether or not the spirit of Seething is involved. However, there's one big hole in the defense's line of logic that nobody has pointed out. I mean, it's kind of your job to point it out. I don't see why anyone else would need to. A hole? What hole? I'm sorry, I just like, saying things for dramatic effect, even if they don't really make much sense. Because that's just the kind of person I am. The defense's claim is the thief planted the remote to later use in the murder. This would explain why the remote found at my office works with the pulley, and that was found in the vents above the scene of the murder.
Yes, this is very much the claim they are making.
However, the problem with this argument is rather easily explained. The larceny that occurred already has a guilty party. What? No, you can't mean. I'm talking, of course, about the defendant of yesterday's trial. None other than our good friend, Manny Steele. If you recall, the defense failed to prove his innocence.
Yes, he's basically waiting to be pronounced guilty of the crime.
If he is found guilty. Obviously, I don't need to point out the problem this presents for you, Mr. Justice. If Manny Steele is guilty of the crime, the thief cannot be the murderer. After all, Steele had no chance to set up Corey Ripper's death trap. Not while he was being held in the detention cell. Ergo, as long as Steele remains our lead suspect, your theory should remain just another easily disproven ghost story. No! You're using the law against me!
Order, order! This argument presented by Mr. Edgeworth is rather sound. If Manny Steele remains the lead suspect of the larceny, is a fact that is detrimental to the defense's case.
Wait, hold on.
Mr. Bishop, do you have more to add?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, You were there, remember? You heard Mr. Gambit's arguments. You know what he said. He said if the remote worked, the defendant should be innocent. Ah, that's right. He did say that. Yeah, he was right about the remote, so that proves his theory. Right, so that means Mr. Steele is innocent, right? Unfortunately, Vera, it's as simple as that. Huh? It's true the remote worked when Mr. Justice used it. However, it worked with the pulley found in events. Gambit's theory was that the remote should work with the pulley found on the roof of the prosecutor's office. There you go, proof of how a third party committed the crime is lacking. Well, if a third party committed the crime, as you yourself argued, Edgeworth, they would have taken the remote away from the scene. The remote for the second pulley still is yet to be found. As long as that is the case, there is no evidence tying it to the larceny out there. You have a pulley right there, jeez. As it stands, Aiden Gambit's theory has still yet to be properly proven. These bits and pieces might be enough to convince a jury of his innocence. But Manny Steele's trial was still held using the bench system.
Meaning these arguments wouldn't hold water in my brother's court. The place where Manny Steele's fate will be decided.
That's just not fair! Juror 2, you of all people? Were you supposed to lie down and accept this with no way to change things?
Juror 2, you were not asked for your input.
That girl has to speak out, and we are. Wasn't that the rule? We're allowed to add our opinions when asked.
Ah, well, I thought the moment had passed for that.
Bullcrap! We're still on this topic, so we should get to talk. Juror 2, please, calm down. Let's just talk this out. Well, you know, you can smoke a joint if you want. I bought some just in case things get out of hand. No! I'm on Apollo's side now. I'm going to use my current powers for good instead of evil. Now, Mr. Wright's having trouble keeping the jury under control. I want to give the defense a break, but Mr. Edgeworth is right. As long as Steele is a guilty party, the defense's argument has no leg to stand on. We have to take it into account when giving our verdict. I can't allow that. If they call a verdict with this giant hole in my argument, then my client is as good as guilty too. The only way to keep this trial going is to find a way to keep my arguments afloat. And the only way for that to happen... At last, you must finally understand, Mr. Justice. What is it you must do now? I think I do, Mr. Edgeworth. Am I going to defend Manny Steele now? As long as Manny Steele is guilty, this case cannot proceed. So the only way forward is to prove him innocent. Right here, right now.
Very well, Mr. Justice, the court will hear you out. Your options in this situation are to either present evidence proving Manny Steele innocent, or to call a witness whose testimony will do just that. Which one will you choose to do?
Be sure to weigh your options carefully, Mr. Justice. One wrong move at this point could cost you quite a bit. I want to call Manny Steele to the stand. Decisive evidence or decisive witness? Which one am I more likely to have?
Time's up, Mr. Justice. The court needs an answer. What will you do to prove Manny Steele's innocence?
I reckon we just called the man himself, right? I mean, I can't really think of anyone else who we could call, and it only ever gives us this option when we need to call a witness. I believe our best course of action is to call a witness to the stand.
We need a bit more than believing at this point, Mr. Justice. I expect you to have a good reason for whomever you're about to call to the stand.
Understood, Your Honour. Aiden Gambit exhausted all possible options in yesterday's trial, but this isn't someone this is someone we haven't fully got their side of the story from. Someone who should have intimate knowledge of what happened that day.
Whenever you are ready, Mr. Justice, please name the witness you will call to the stand. That's Manny Steele?
Manny Steele is the only one who truly knows what his actions were that day. Whatever he claims to have or have not done, his account must be scrutinised. I promised you that if we get him on the stand, a cross-examination will reveal the truth.
What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Edgeworth?
A few questions I'd like to ask Manny Steele myself. He claims to have not followed the instructions given to him in this blackmail letter. If that really is the case, why did he then try to steal the files from my office? He was also seen in the prosecutor's office well beyond his usual working hours. If he wasn't trying to steal from me, then what exactly was he doing? I feel these questions must be answered before we can proceed.
I see. How soon can you have Mr. Steele here?
Given that Money Steele is being held at the detention center as we speak, I can have him here in no less than 10 minutes.
Not even enough time for a recess. I suppose all we can do is be patient. Very well, let us wait patiently for Mr. Steele's timely arrival.
Witness, please state your name and occupation. Manny Steele, District Prosecutor. Oh, well, soon to be formal one anyways. Jeez, could this man exude any less energy? I feel completely exhausted even just looking at him. Mr. Steele, do you know the events that transpired during your trial? Yeah, Aiden wasn't supposed to, but he told me all about it. Corey was a cruel, heartless man who used any means to get the verdict he desires. In many ways, he was a very embodiment of this era everyone has been talking about. The Dark Age of the Law! There's that phrase again. But even though Corey was a man I had no love for, I never wished this upon him. He didn't deserve death.
Indeed, if the rumors surrounding Corey Rupture are true, it still does not justify taking the man's life.
However, this answers the question of why I'm here. I was in police custody at the time of the murder. I'm completely unrelated to the case. The offences theorised that larceny you've been charged with, and the murder of Corey Rupture that happened in this courthouse, were, in fact, committed by the same person.
What? The same person?
A similar pulley to the one presented by Aiden Gambit was found in the vents above the crime scene. This one was also made by Veramisho. The person who ordered both pulleys must be the culprit of both crimes. The only missing piece of the puzzle is you.
Me?
As you said, you were in police custody at the time of the murder. Ergo, it's impossible for both crimes to be connected if you are the thief in question. So we will ask you once again to clear this situation up. What were you doing on the night of the larceny?
That...
Mr. Steele, please, only you can clear this up. The truth your testimony holds may be the key to solving this case.
I'm sorry, Mr. Justice.
What? What is he doing?
I've been trying to hide it for so long, but I can't hide it anymore. The truth is that it was me. I'm the one who robbed Mr. Edgeworth.
What?
Order! Order! So you admit it then. You are the thief who stole from the Chief Prosecutor's office. Yes, consider this my confession. I can no longer hide the truth when the murder accusation is on the line. The truth is that both cases are completely unrelated.
Mr. Steele, no! Please reconsider what you're saying. The life of an innocent man could be on the line.
Objection!
Actually, I think the voice I've given is kind of thing. It kind of sounds similar.
It's not my fault if you decide to base your entire argument on this one point. All I know is that I refuse to take part in it. So yes, I did it. Find me guilty.
This isn't your trial, dude. No, this is bad. Very bad.
Well, I could just find him guilty right now. Why not? It's his trial, but if he wants it, a judge has to always give the verdict required.
What? If Steele's confession is accepted, then that shoots my argument in the foot.
As this is not your trial, it's not my place to accept your confession. That said, I'm sure my brother will appreciate your newfound honesty. No then, it seems that the matter has been cleared up. It seems the defence's arguments do not hold up under scrutiny. Therefore, if there are no more arguments, I'd like to move to adjudication.
You thought you were getting an early end to this trial, did you? Yes, I think I see now. Edgeworth, what's he doing?
What was that about? You were just about to win.
Mr. Steele, with all due respect, be silent! Silence! Did I just hear Blackwell? Your Honor, if I may be so bold, I believe moving to adjudication may be hasty at this time.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? It is true that Mr. Steele has confessed to the crime of larceny. However, are we merely content with leaving it there? It is our court's job to thoroughly examine every possibility, is it not? Therefore, the prosecution proposes we should examine his confession in detail. An excellent point, Mr. Edgeworth. Why is Edgeworth helping me? It can't just be out of a need to be thorough. Unless, of course, he suspects something is wrong. Yes, that has to be it. He knows what Steele's saying can't be the truth. So then that means, if he's not really the thief, then he must be covering for someone. What do you mean by all this? I did it! That's all you need! You're wrong, Mr. Steele. It's not enough. After all, new information demands a new testimony. And a new testimony demands cross-examination. Okay, fine. I'm trying to do the right thing, but you won't accept it? And I'll make you accept it. No stone left unturned. Steele's confession. Several days ago, I received an ordinary envelope in the mail with a letter inside. The letter itself was a blackmail letter, threatening to expose my greatest secret. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I gave in to the letter's demands and did as asked. I soon found myself in Mr. Edgeworth's office, where I tried to steal the files in front of him. My attempt was foiled. The files were wrestled away from me on my first attempt. Later, I snuck into Mr. Edgeworth's office like how Mr. Payne predicted. I stole the files and took them to my office. I deserve to be branded a thief. I see, that gives a clear picture of what happened that day. Was it saying the blackmail letter again? This is only one part of the letter. So you took the files because of the blackmail letter? Yes, I'm sorry. I know I'm a terrible person. However, that directly contradicts with the testimony you gave during your trial. You clearly stated that you did not follow the blackmail letter's instructions. I was lying. I didn't want to be caught. But now it doesn't matter anymore. I may as well tell the truth. So you openly admit to committing perjury on the stand? All the more reason to examine the details of your confession, yes? You just won't let this go, will you? As long as Steele is insistent on his confession, I can't make any progress. I need to stop poking holes in that confession, and pronto. I don't know why you want to protect the murderer so badly, Steele, but I swear I'll get to the bottom of this. Steele's confession. So, I'm actually not sure what Steele's role in all this is, because I'm going to assume his first testimony where he said he didn't follow the blackmail letter even, is the truth, and this is all just lies. But I don't know what that means. How many days before the theft was this? I don't remember the exact date, but it was about 1 or 2 days prior. You reacted so quickly to it? I didn't really have much of a choice. I knew I didn't have much time at all. What made you so sure of that? It's not as the letter itself mentions anything about a specific date. That's actually very easy to explain. It's simply because it's January. January? What does that have to do with it? It's clear that the blackmailer was using what happened 13 years ago against me. Oh. January 16th, 2014. The date that the horrible crime happened was January 16th. Ah, I see. So you're saying... There's no doubt in my mind that was going to be my deadline. I knew I had to react quickly if I was going to avoid having my secret exposed. Which explains why you're so desperate to have the case reopened. So 13 years ago, 2014, yeah, this is 2027. Regardless of the circumstances, what you did was unacceptable. Whether jurors or no, you have to answer for your actions. I understand, Your Honor. In any case, let's return to your cross-examination. The letter that threatened to expose your greatest secret?
What exactly is this secret of yours?
Do you actually think I'm going to tell you that, you idiot? Yes, well, about that.
Is that anything strange all of a sudden? Was that question too personal?
My secret. See, the thing is... Anytime this century, Mr. Steele. You are under oath, after all. Yes, the truth is, it all has to do with that case, you see.
That case? You mean the AS-10 incident?
It's not really something I like talking about too often. See, it's well known an assailant tried to kill young John.
Yes, despite the fact that Mr. Rupture argued otherwise.
But the truth is, there's more to the story than that. There was a rumour that somebody leaked John's location from the inside.
You didn't...
Of course I didn't! Who do you take me for? Still, the chief prosecutor at the time told everyone to keep this rumour a secret.
But why?
Isn't it obvious? Because it would make the prosecutor's office look bad. And also because if it got out, I might be the lead suspect. I was one of the few people privy to John's location. Even if the rumours aren't true, even just being named as a suspect would ruin me.
Ugh, the power of public opinion. Still, I don't know. It kind of sounds like an excuse to me. After all, wouldn't you just be able to set the record straight? I'm not really sure if I'm getting the full picture of the story from him. Should I press further? Well, let's back off, you know. Who needs to hear more about this mysterious past incident that could have the answers to everything? No. Actually, I have another question, Mr. Steele. This information was supposed to remain a secret. How did the blackmailer know about it? How did the blackmailer know about it?
That is to say,
There it is again. He's getting nervous.
I don't know, okay? I'm not a blackmailer. I don't know how they found out. Mr. Steele, please calm down. Look, all I know is the blackmailer had dirt on me, okay? I couldn't take any chances. I don't know how they learned about my secret, nor do I know why this all happened.
Wow, this happened.
Who leaked the info, or why he thought it was me? As far as I can tell, he's just grasping at straws.
He?
I...
Mr. Steele, do you know the identity of the blackmailer?
No. I haven't got a single clue. The blackmailer didn't leave behind any clue to the identity, okay?
I knew it. He's playing dumb. Well, if he doesn't want to give me the truth on his own, I'll just drag it out. Mr. Steele, please add what you just said to your testimony.
I have no idea who the blackmailer is. They didn't leave any clues to their identity.
Are you sure you don't even have the slightest idea? You're not even the tiniest bit sure?
Repeating the same question over and over won't change my stance, Mr. Justice. You don't think I haven't seen your tricks before? I'm a prosecutor, or was. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to ask me the exact same question, in different ways so that I'll give a different answer, aren't you?
I don't know, Mr. Steele. I'm not that kind of lawyer. I just want to be sure and I'm hearing you correctly, and we're on the same page.
Why? Do you have doubts about what I'm saying? Mr. Justice, allow me to put those doubts at ease. If I had any idea of who the blackmailer is, don't you think I'd be pointing fingers?
What do you mean?
I hate to admit it, Mr. Justice, but I'm not exactly a brave man. The prospect of going to jail for my crimes scares me. Not to mention I'm losing my job. But if I knew who tried to blackmail me into doing their bidding, I would have had them arrested on the spot before all this ever happened. Indeed, trying to blackmail the prosecutor is a dangerous game. Since he worked so closely with the police, if he had truly known the blackmailer's identity, said blackmailing would be in handcuffs before they could blink. You overestimate the lost Tokyo Angels police force. But what else? What about the secret that they were holding over your head? Wouldn't that keep you from acting even if you did know who they were? No, if I had them arrested, I could get a gag order issued. That won't be enough to keep my secret from leaking.
Unless I had set up some way of preventing that, which a smart blackmailer probably would.
Speaking of which, the non-disclosure agreement for this very trial should keep your secret safe. I doubt you'll become a suspect for leaking insider knowledge anytime soon.
Yeah, only at the cost of being convicted of larceny. What a deal. Still, I'm not too sure he would have gone to the police even if he did know. Maybe I should take a look through the court record just to get some insight. Well, we're going to continue pressing through Manny Steel next time. So yeah, see you in the next episode.